Welcome to the Leadership Levers Podcast. I'm your host, Will Gladhart, CMO at the Culture Think Tank. Our Culture Think Tank community is committed to advancing workplace culture and well-being. We are a virtual hub for authors, investors, leaders, managers, and employees worldwide to connect, engage in candid discussions, share ideas, and explore resources for cultivating a healthy work environment. We're here today to learn about the actions leaders have taken to address cultural change. Our guest today is Isaac Lee Collins, owner and CEO of Yogurtini KC, and he's also a business coach, and he will share more about that in just a minute. So thank you so much for taking the time to join us today.
Hey, I'm glad to be here. Thank you for that intro.
Excellent. Well, I thought we would start by having you share with our audience a bit about yourself, your organization, your background. You have a wealth of things that you do, so I'm really excited for you to share those things, but also for you to share a little bit more about things about culture today as well.
Absolutely. Well, again, thank you for having me here. I'm excited to be here to talk about leadership and all the fun stuff. So, yes, Isaac Lee Collins, current CEO of Yogurtini KC and founder of Streamline Profit Academy. Those are my current projects. Started doing the business coaching about 3 years ago, but it all started almost 12 years ago. I got launched my first business when I was 23 years old, right out of college. And it was an amazing opportunity through this entrepreneurial program through my college. And it was very interesting because I started with the Rocky Mountain Chocolate Factory with no experience. Had years of business training through business school and mentors talking and kind of helping us get into this thing. But I made dang near every mistake you can make when you first become a business owner. And through, I guess hard work, you could say, and some amazing advisors that kind of kept me in the game and kind of pushed through until I kind of could figure out what I was doing. So my first business was Rocky Mountain Chocolate Factory. Did that for 4 years. At the end of my third year, I actually wanted to move back to Kansas City to be close to family. And there was an opportunity to get into this small self-serve frozen yogurt chain that the ones that know my business know that that's Yogurtini. That's when I bought my first one in 2015. And for about a year, I owned both of those concepts. And midway through 2016, ended up selling the Rocky Mountain Chocolate Factory. And honestly, came across way too much money for a 25-year-old and kind of fell into the deceptive lie of the average millionaire has 7 income streams. So I started just investing in stuff, nonprofit, my own startup, doing more food concepts, and some worked. A lot of them didn't. But the coolest thing out of that was, one, I learned a lot of lessons. And then two, I was able to kind of refine and hone what I really love. And what I really love is food retail. So my wife and I have gained 2 more Yogurtini locations since then across the Kansas City metro. We have our Plaza location in Shoal Creek and Overland Park. If you're in Kansas City, you know those areas, with hopes to expand more in the upcoming years. And so, yeah, we'll get more into the coaching later, but that's kind of a little synopsis of my 11 and a half year entrepreneurial journey.
We will be discussing 3 questions today. As a warm-up to start our conversation, would you share why you believe a healthy culture is critical?
Yeah, I think for me, it's tiered. When I think about this and I'm talking to my clients or even my managers, the things I've kind of learned over the last 11 and a half years, I wish I could jump to the fridge with the beer on it and the shuffleboard and the ping pong and all that, because fun is one of those top things. But for me, it's not. So for me, to have a good, healthy, happy culture, it starts with a foundation of 3 things. 1 is open communication. 2 is a clearly defined hierarchy, so there's no confusion. I know people want to skip that one and say, we don't need a hierarchy. Yes, you do. You need to know who you're answering to.
Exactly.
And there needs to be clearly defined roles for that. And then the third piece of that bottom layer for me is detailed opportunities for advancement. I have seen with the teams that I have had that when I don't have future opportunities to kind of, I guess you could say, dangle out there or for them to earn, and they're not looking up at what's potentially next, they start looking side to side, and side to side is other jobs. So to me, that's foundational. The next rung or the next thing that kind of gets stacked on top is 2 things. It is empowerment and delegation. Those are 2 things that we like to incorporate early and often. Give people the training they need to do the job, and then empower them to do that job without micromanaging them and give them responsibilities. Like, we think that we're hiring these kids that just can't do anything without messing it up. And that's not true. We literally hire kids. 50 of our 55 employees are between 14 and 21. So we're literally hiring kids. And you know what? They're pretty dang smart. They can do the job. And then the last piece that kind of sits right on top is fun. So whatever that means to your organization, if you have that component of fun, I don't think it is necessary for a good, healthy culture. But if you have it and you can do it where it really makes sense, then it's the cream on the crop.
Yeah, thanks for sharing those insights about not only clarity of role, but also opportunities in the organization. Give people the tools, but then give them the opportunity to move up, see the next opportunity, the next step. So let's begin with question one. What do you see as the biggest challenge leaders face when addressing cultural change within an organization? Or what specific challenges have you faced in your organization, since you sit in kind of in a unique role of working not only as the CEO and founder in an organization, but also working with other executives?
Sure. And it's interesting because, man, I think that's the tough thing about being a coach and a consultant is I'm seeing inside other people's worlds, and having the experience that I have. I know all of the failures that I made over, the time of me being an entrepreneur. And then I see it in my friends, I see it in my colleagues, I see it in my clients, and it's tough. I almost feel like you have to go through it. But the biggest thing for me, and the issue that I had for a long time and it took me to figure out, is the inability to change. When change is needed, you have to be able to be flexible to actually adapt and to change. When I played football, my coach always said, keep your head on a swivel. Don't just be fixed on what's right in front of you. Have your head on a swivel, be able to look around and see things from all directions. And that's the same exact thing you have to be able to do as a leader inside of a business or a parent who's leading a family, etc. And so most time managers and leaders are older. And so one of the things you hear a lot of times is, oh, you're behind the times, or you don't get it, or whatever it is. And sometimes that's just going to happen. But when those things happen and when those times happen and where you don't get it and you miss the mark, being able to listen to your team and take their feedback and then adjust accordingly. And it's interesting because there's going to be this intersection of what your team wants to tell you and what they think they want or they think that they need versus what the organization needs. And then you as the leader being able to make that good decision somewhere in the middle for the organization. But it's incredibly pivotal to be able to make a decision and make a change and to pivot when it needs to happen.
Yeah, I think that's a really excellent point made about keeping your head on a swivel, but also being hesitant and or resistant to change, because I think any leader struggles with that, because sometimes if you are the leader, owner, et cetera, of a business, you view that as a reflection of yourself. And you have to throw it out the window and be like, hey, this is the best for the organization. How do we move forward? How do we create that communication, that clarity, that next step? So what do you think that leaders can do to address the challenges they're facing? Or what is something that you specifically have done?
So it kind of goes to the last question for me. The first thing is humble yourself. And that's really hard for us leaders to do because, hey, we built this thing from the ground up, or we purchased it with our hard-earned money, and we're going to try to grow it to wherever we're going to go. A lot of us are visionaries. We have these really amazing ideas or ideas that we think that are amazing, but we have to humble ourselves, especially if it's not a solopreneurship and you have employees. They're also working really hard to fulfill a lot of times the owner and the leader's mission, but they also have boots on the ground and they also see what's going on. And they also have really, really good ideas a lot of the time if you empower them to actually use their brain when they're at work. So humble yourself to know not every idea you have is a good one, just like not every idea your team has is a good one. And, I'll tell you this, again, it took me about 6 years to learn this lesson into my journey because I kept just beating my teams over the head with, here's the mission, here's the vision, here's what we're going to accomplish. And there was almost no room for failure and no room for their opinion when it came to it. But it wasn't until I started to humble myself that our organization really started to grow because I was finally accepting these really good, deep, thought out ideas that my team had because they were there sometimes more than I was. Because
Right.
my business is open 12 hours a day, and we're only there as managers a certain amount of time, a third of the time. They're there two-thirds of the time. So the team is there more than we are. They see more things than we do. So for us to not listen to them is a shame. So that'd be the first thing. And then the second thing for me is you really are working for your customers and your employees. If you flip that model and have it be more of a bottom up approach, they're going to tell you exactly what they need and what they want. And again, it's for you to discern which things do you implement and which things do you not implement. But if you have a bought in customer base and employee base, they're going to give you a lot of the answers that you're looking for to how to make your organization better.
I think that's some very sage advice, from humility to, listening to the people that are boots on the ground, to making those changes and being flexible in the journey as a business owner, but also as a CEO and a leader. So you've shared some really great insights. Is there anything else you'd like to share or add as a leader for other leaders?
Sure. Yeah. So when we're talking about this leader concept, usually it isn't too much being talked about as solopreneurship, because if you're by yourself, you're leading yourself, which is also important in another podcast. But normally when we're talking about leadership, it's because we have employees that we're having. So one of the things that I see is the managers, the leaders, the owners, whatever it is, starting to interact with their customer base or their teams less as the business goes on. And so I always bring it back to leadership is a contact sport. And I say that a lot because in one way or another, you have to be in the thick of it. And even if you aren't in store or, customer facing or answering all the calls, you have to have those systems in place to always have your finger on the pulse so you know what's going on. And again, you can be flexible and move when you need to. So each level you ascend to, you're going to face getting your face bloodied. And so what do you do in those times whenever that happens? Are you going to be flexible? Are you going to be in contact enough to be able to change on a dime or understand why, or take the defeat and get back going? When it comes to that, if you're amongst the chaos and you know it's going to come and you know what's going to happen, it gets a lot easier versus us ascending to a certain perch and thinking we're untouchable. That is when you take the eye off the ball and you start to miss it. So yes, be amongst it, contact sport, let the contact happen. Just like in basketball, you want to lean into the contact. It's going to happen. And, get that and one, make that shot and make the free throw. So if you like those sports analogies.
Great. Isaac, I've enjoyed having you on today. Thank you so much for your advice and insights.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Thanks for your friendship.
Thank you for joining us on the Leadership Lovers podcast. You may find all our Leadership Lovers episodes in our Culture Think Tank community at www.culturethinktank.ai. Join the community at no charge and tune in weekly as we invite leaders to share their experience in strengthening culture one action at a time.